You've seen the photograph. Everyone has. 6 Marines raising the flag on Mount Suribachi. Rosenthal's picture. The most famous image of the war. Maybe the most famous photograph ever taken. What you haven't seen is what happened after. What happened to us? 3 of the men in that photograph were dead within a week. The 3 of us who survived, we spent the rest of our lives trying to explain something we didn't understand ourselves. Trying to live up to an image. Trying to be the heroes everyone said we were. I'm not a hero. None of us were. We were just Marines doing a job on the worst island in the Pacific. My name's Novak. John Novak from Duluth, Minnesota. My old man was a logger, worked the camps up north, came home twice a year smelling like pine and sweat. 3 brothers, all of us built big. People said we looked like we were carved from wood. I joined the Marines in '42, right after graduation. 18 years old and stupid enough to think war was adventure. They sent me to boot camp at Paris Island, broke me down and built me back up into something harder, something that could kill. Spent 43 and 44 Island hopping across the Pacific. Tarawa, Saipan, Tinian. Each one worse than the last. Each one teaching me that glory was a lie and survival was just luck. By January '45, I'd been in the Pacific for 2 years. 21 years old with an old man's eyes. Corporal in Easy Company, 2nd Battalion, 28th Marines, 5th Marine Division. They told us Iwo Jima would be different. Told us the Navy had been pounding it for weeks, that the Air Force had bombed it into submission. Told us it would take 3 days, maybe 4. 36 days. That's how long it took. 36 days of hell on 8 square miles of volcanic ash and rock. The island looked like the moon. Black sand, sulfur steam rising from vents, no vegetation except some scraggly bushes, and 22,000 Japanese dug into caves and bunkers and tunnels, ready to die. Every single one of them. We landed February 19th. HR hour. The beach was chaos. Marines pouring out of landing craft, artillery shells exploding, machine gun fire from Mount Suribachi. The sand was so soft you couldn't run, could barely walk, like trying to move through quicksand while people shot at you. I made it off the beach. Lost half my platoon doing it. By nightfall, we'd barely moved 400 yards inland. That was day 1. We had 35 more to go. The flag raising happened on day 5. February 23rd. They made it seem like the climax, like after we took Suribachi the battle was over. But the battle was just beginning, the worst was still ahead, and that photograph, that moment of triumph everyone remembers, it haunted us more than anything else that happened on that godforsaken island. Mount Suribachi was 555 feet of volcanic rock at the southern tip of Iwo. The Japanese had honeycombed it with tunnels and gun positions. For 4 days they'd fired down on us from that mountain, killing Marines by the hundreds. Taking it became an obsession. Take Suribachi, plant the flag, show the world we were winning. Easy Company got the assignment. Climb the mountain, secure the summit, raise the flag. We started up the morning of the 23rd. 40 of us, moving slow, expecting resistance. The slopes were steep, loose volcanic rock that slipped under your boots. Every step you'd slide back half a step, like climbing a sand dune made of gravel. Lieutenant Schreier was leading. He had the flag, had gotten it from some ship offshore. We figured when we reached the top, we'd plant it. Simple ceremony. Then get back to killing Japanese. But the mountain was quiet. Too quiet. We kept waiting for machine guns to open up, for mortars to start falling. Nothing. "Where are they?" Private Hansen whispered next to me. "In the tunnels," I said, waiting. We reached the summit around 10:30. Still no contact. The top of Suribachi was a crater, maybe 150 yards across, pockmarked with shell holes and cave entrances. Marines spread out, weapons ready. Schreier found a piece of pipe in the rubble. "Here." We'll use this. 6 of us grabbed the pipe and the flag. Schreier, Hansen, Bradley, Sowsley, Strank, and me. Started tying the flag to the pipe while the rest of the company secured the perimeter. That's when we saw them. Japanese soldiers emerging from caves, weapons ready. They'd been waiting, playing dead. One of them had a grenade. Hansen shot him before he could throw it. Then everything erupted. Machine gun fire from cave entrances, Marines returning fire, grenades going off. The crater turned into a killing ground. "Get the flag up," Schreier yelled. "Get it up." We jammed the pipe into the volcanic rock, struggled to make it stand. The flag caught the wind, started to unfurl, red, white, and blue against the black rock and gray sky. Somewhere down on the beach, Marines saw it, started cheering. Ship horns started blowing, like we'd won the war. But we were still fighting for our lives on top of that mountain, still shooting Japanese as they came out of caves, still dying. Lindbergh went down, shot through the chest. Bradley dragged him to cover, but he was already gone. Dead before the flag was even fully raised. We held the summit, killed the Japanese who attacked, secured the position. The flag snapped in the wind above us while we reloaded and tried not to think about Lindbergh. A photographer had come up with us, Staff Sergeant Rosenthal. He'd missed the first flag raising, wanted pictures of the second one. They'd decided the first flag was too small, wanted a bigger one for the ships to see. "Let's do it again," someone said, "for the camera." So we did. 6 of us, Hayes, Bradley, Sowsley, Strank, Block, and me. Grabbed the pipe with the bigger flag, raised it while Rosenthal snapped pictures. Took maybe 5 seconds. One moment in time, one photograph. That photograph changed everything. The flag went up at noon. By nightfall, Sowsley was dead. Sniper got him during a counterattack. 20 years old, kid from Kentucky who played harmonica in the evenings. Strank died 2 days later, artillery shell. He was a sergeant, good Marine, had survived Bougainville and Tarawa. Made it through 3 years of war and died on Iwo 3 days after the photograph. Block lasted until March 1st. Machine gun nest we didn't see. Cut him down before he could take cover. 21 years old from Texas. Used to talk about his ranch, about going home to ride horses and fix fences. 3 of the 6 men in that photograph. Dead within a week. But that photograph was everywhere. In newspapers, on posters on the radio. 6 Marines raising the flag, symbol of American determination, American victory, American heroism. Except 3 of those heroes were dead. And the 3 of us who survived, Hayes, Bradley, and me, we were still on Iwo, still fighting, still trying not to die. The island was a nightmare. The Japanese wouldn't surrender. Every cave had to be cleared. Every bunker had to be burned out. They fought from tunnels, from spider holes, from positions you couldn't see until you were standing on top of them. We used flamethrowers. That was the only way. Burn them out. Burn them alive. The smell, you never forget that smell. Burning flesh and gasoline and sulfur from the volcanic vents. Hell must smell like Iwo Jima. I killed so many men I stopped counting. Shot them, burned them, blew them up with grenades and satchel charges. Some of them burned alive, screaming. Some of them shot themselves rather than surrender. Some of them came out of caves with grenades, trying to take us with them. The whole island was dying. 22,000 Japanese, most of them dug in so deep we'd never see them until the flamethrowers flushed them out. 6,000 Marines dead. 19,000 wounded. For 8 square miles of volcanic rock that nobody wanted. But we had the flag on Suribachi, we had the photograph, we had the symbol of victory, so we kept fighting, kept burning out caves, kept stacking bodies. Hayes lost it in the 2nd week, just broke. Sat down in a shell crater and wouldn't move. Stared at nothing while mortars fell around him. They pulled him off the line, sent him to the rear. Shell shock, they called it. Bradley took shrapnel in the leg on March 12th. Purple Heart. Ticket home. He was lucky. Got to leave before the island killed him. That left me, last man standing from the photograph, still fighting while that image circulated around the world, still trying to survive while people back home celebrated the flag raising like it meant the battle was over. I was there when we finally secured the island, March 26th, 36 days after we landed. The island was ours, cost us 7,000 dead Marines and almost 20,000 wounded. Victory, that's what they called it. The Japanese had lost, we'd taken the island. Strategic importance for bombing runs to Japan, all according to plan. But I'd watched half my company die, watched Marines burn alive when flamethrowers backfired, watched men go crazy from the constant artillery, watched boys my age get blown apart, shot to pieces, buried alive in collapsed bunkers, and everyone wanted to talk about the flag. "You're a hero," they said. "You raised the flag on Suribachi." I raised a piece of pipe with cloth attached. For 5 seconds, while my friends were dying. That's what made me a hero. Not the 36 days of hell, not the men I killed or the caves I cleared or the nights I lay in volcanic ash while mortars fell. Not surviving when so many others didn't. 5 seconds, one photograph. That's all it took. They pulled me off Iwo in late March. Didn't ask, just ordered. Loaded me on a hospital ship with Hayes and Bradley and sent us back to Hawaii, then California. "You boys are heroes," the colonel said. "The president wants to meet you. You're going on a bond tour." "I'd rather stay with my unit," I said. "Your unit doesn't need you. Your country does." So that was it. The war continued without me. My company went to Okinawa. I went to Washington. We met President Truman, shook his hand. He thanked us for our service, for raising the flag, for inspiring the nation. Hayes, Bradley, and I stood there in our dress uniforms with our medals and tried to look like the heroes everyone said we were. The bond tour started in April, 7 cities in 2 weeks, speeches, rallies, selling war bonds. They'd erected a huge statue based on Rosenthal's photograph, the flag raising immortalized in plaster and papier-mâché. We were supposed to stand in front of it and wave. Hayes got drunk before the first rally. Could barely stand. They had to hold him up for the photographs. "I can't do this," he told me. "Those men are dead. Sousley, Strank, Block, they're dead, and we're here selling bonds like we're circus animals." "I know," I said. "It's not right. I know." But we did it anyway. Stood in front of that statue, smiled for the cameras, told sanitized stories about the flag raising, left out the burning and the dying and the smell. The crowds loved it, bought bonds by the millions. We were helping the war effort, they said, inspiring the troops, making a difference. I felt like a fraud. Bradley couldn't look at the statue, just stared at his shoes during the rallies, answered questions in monosyllables. They called him shy, reserved. He wasn't shy. He was drowning in guilt for surviving when better Marines died. Hayes got worse. Drunk at every event, started missing appearances. By the 3rd city, they were talking about sending him home. By the 5th, he was gone. Just disappeared. They found him 3 days later in a bar, passed out drunk, crying about Sousley. They sent him back to the reservation in Arizona, gave him an honorable discharge. The war was ending anyway. Germany had surrendered in May. Japan would fall any day. Bradley and I finished the tour, smiled, waved, sold bonds, pretended to be heroes. Japan surrendered in August. The war was over. We'd won. They gave us medals, commendations, parades, more photographs. The flag raising was everywhere, statues, paintings, posters. That frozen moment of triumph, replicated endlessly. And I stood there, watching it all, thinking about Block burning to death, about Strank getting blown apart, about Sousley with half his head gone, thinking about the 36 days that photograph erased, The thousands who died after that flag went up. The island of death that everyone forgot because we had a pretty picture to celebrate. "How do you feel being a hero?" a reporter asked me at the final rally. I looked at him, at the statue, at the crowds cheering for 6 Marines, 3 of them dead. "I'm not a hero," I said. "I'm just the guy who didn't die." They didn't print that quote. I went home to Duluth in September '45. My family threw a party. The whole neighborhood came. Everyone wanted to meet the hero, shake my hand, hear about the flag raising. I got drunk and left early. My kid brother Billy, he'd been too young to enlist, kept asking questions. "What was it like? Was it scary? Did you kill a lot of Japanese? Tell me about raising the flag." I couldn't find the words. How do you explain Iwo Jima to someone who's never left Minnesota? How do you describe burning men alive to someone who thinks war is what he sees in newsreels? "It was a job," I said finally. "We did what we had to do." He looked disappointed, wanted adventure stories, wanted glory. I went to work at the lumber mill. Same work my father did, same work I'd have done if there'd been no war. Cutting timber, running equipment, 12-hour shifts that left you too tired to think. That was good. I didn't want to think, but the photograph followed me. It was in the newspaper when they dedicated the war memorial. It was in Life magazine. It was on a postage stamp, for Christ's sake. That moment, 5 seconds on top of Suribachi, reduced to 3 cents and stuck on envelopes across the country. People recognize me sometimes. "Hey, aren't you one of the Iwo Jima guys?" I'd deny it, say they had me confused with someone else. Most of them believed it. I didn't look like a hero. Hayes died in 1955. Froze to death on the reservation, drunk, alone. They said it was exposure. I knew better. He'd been dying since 1945, since we left Iwo, since they made us into something we weren't. 3 weeks after Hayes died, they decided to build a memorial in Washington. The Marine Corps War Memorial, a massive bronze statue based on Rosenthal's photograph. They wanted Bradley and me there for the dedication. I said no, said I was busy, said I couldn't get time off work. They sent a colonel to Duluth to convince me it's important, for the Corps, for the men who died, for the country. "I raised a flag on a mountain," I said. "That doesn't make me special. Thousands of Marines died on Iwo. They deserve the memorial, not me. The memorial is for all of them. But the photograph, it represents something bigger. It represents what we fought for. It represents 5 seconds, 1 moment. It doesn't show the other 36 days, doesn't show Bloch and Strank and Sousley dying, doesn't show the real war." "That's exactly why we need it," he said. "Because people can't handle the real war. They need something to believe in, something to make it all mean something." I went to the dedication, stood next to Bradley while they unveiled the statue. 78 feet of bronze Marines, forever raising that flag. Perfect, heroic, noble, nothing like the real thing. I'm 44 years old now, 13 years since Iwo Jima. The photograph is more famous than ever. That statue in Washington is visited by thousands. School children learn about the flag raising. They study it in history class. 6 Marines raising the flag. Symbol of American courage, American victory, American exceptionalism. They don't teach about the 36 days, about the 7,000 dead, about the caves we burned out, or the men who went crazy, or the smell of sulfur and death that never left your nostrils. They teach about the photograph. Bradley doesn't talk about it anymore. Moved to Wisconsin, became a funeral director, lives quietly. When reporters find him, he gives them nothing. Just says he did his duty like everyone else. Smart man. I tried to do the same. Kept my head down, worked the mill, avoided the press. But it's hard to escape. That photograph is everywhere, and every year on the anniversary someone finds me. wants an interview, wants to know what it felt like to be part of history. It felt like lifting a piece of pipe, that's all. 5 seconds of work on a mountain while people were dying. But that's not what they want to hear. They want meaning, want purpose, want to believe that photograph represents something noble and pure and good. Maybe it does. Maybe that's what we were fighting for, the idea of America, the flag, the principles. Maybe those 36 days of hell were worth it if it meant defeating tyranny and saving the world. Or maybe it's just what we tell ourselves to make the dying mean something. I drink more than I should. Not like Hayes. I can hold it together, hold down a job, function. But at night, when the mill shuts down and the house is quiet, I need something to shut down the memories, the burning, the screaming, the smell, the knowledge that I survived through pure luck, that I could just as easily have been Sousley or Strank or Block, that the only reason I'm here and they're buried in Arlington is chance. Random, meaningless, luck, and everyone calls me a hero for it. The worst part is the statue, that massive bronze monument in Washington, 3 of the men in it dead, immortalized in metal, forever raising that flag, forever frozen in that one moment of triumph while everything around us was dying. I had a nightmare last week. I'm back on Suribachi, but this time we can't raise the flag. The pole is too heavy. We're straining, pulling, and it won't budge. And around us, Marines are dying, falling, burning, screaming for help. But we can't stop. We have to raise the flag. That's the mission. That's what matters. So we keep pulling while they die, while the island burns, while everything falls apart. And when we finally get it up, when the flag finally catches the wind, I look around and everyone is dead. Every Marine on Iwo, thousands of bodies. Just me and that flag. I woke up shaking, couldn't go back to sleep. That's what the photograph doesn't show. The cost, the real cost, not just the 7,000 dead, not just the 19,000 wounded, the ones who survived, the ones who came home. We paid a price too. Hayes froze to death, drunk and broken. Bradley hides in Wisconsin, running from his own heroism. And me? I'm working a mill in Duluth, drinking every night, trying to forget 5 seconds that defined my entire life. We raised a flag on a mountain. One moment, one photograph, one piece of history. And we've been carrying it ever since. People see that photograph and they feel proud, inspired. They see American triumph. I see 3 dead men. I see Hayes dying slowly on a reservation. I see Bradley's eyes, hollow, haunted. I see myself, a ghost living in the shadow of a moment I never asked for. They call us the greatest generation. Say we saved the world. Say we're heroes. Maybe we are. Maybe we did. But it cost us everything. Not just the ones who died. All of us. The photograph captured one moment, one sliver of time, made it eternal. But the rest of it, the 36 days, the burning, the dying, the years of aftermath, that's eternal too. We carry it every single day. That flag is still flying. 78 feet of bronze in Washington, D.C., frozen forever in triumph. And I'm still on that mountain, still surrounded by the dead, still trying to figure out why I survived when better Marines didn't, still wondering if any of it mattered. The photograph tells you it did, shows you 6 Marines working together, raising the flag, tells you it was meaningful, important, worth it. But photographs lie. They show you one moment and pretend that's the whole story. The whole story is 36 days of hell, 7,000 dead, 19,000 wounded, and 3 survivors of that photograph spending the rest of their lives trying to live up to an image, trying to be the heroes everyone says we are, trying to believe it meant something. I raised a flag on Iwo Jima. 5 seconds, one photograph. And I've been trying to put it down ever since. But I can't. None of us can. That flag, that moment, It's part of us forever. The dead are buried in Arlington, their names carved in marble. They rest. We don't. We can't. We're still carrying that flag, still climbing that mountain, still fighting on an island that doesn't exist anymore except in our nightmares. That's what the photograph doesn't show. That's what nobody talks about. The flag went up. The photograph was taken. The war was won. And we've been dying slowly ever since. That's the real story of Iwo Jima. Not the triumph, not the glory, not the heroism, just the cost. And it's a bill that never stops coming due.